Please, someone. Help me, she whispered, her arms trembling as rain drenched her and the tiny child she clutched. No one stopped. Cars splashed past, umbrellas tilted away, until one man, a single father named Elijah, saw her. He didn't know her story, or that his small act of kindness that night would change both their lives forever. The rain came down like punishment, heavy, relentless, the kind that turned streets into rivers and hearts into stone. On the corner of Fifth and Maple, under a flickering streetlight, a young nurse sat curled against a bench, her white uniform soaked, her hair plastered to her face. In her arms, a baby, no more than 6 months old, whimpered softly, wrapped in a thin blanket that had lost its fight against the cold. Her name was Grace, and tonight, Grace had lost everything. Her husband was gone, a hit-and-run that ended in silence. Her home, taken after hospital bills, drained every cent. Her job, lost when she missed one too many shifts grieving and trying to stay alive. Now she sat there, her body shaking not from rain but from despair. Her baby, her last connection to love, let out a weak cry. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her child, her voice cracking. "Mommy's trying." No one stopped until a tall man in a gray hoodie slowed his steps. Elijah was used to storms, the ones outside and the ones life threw inside him. He'd been raising his little girl, Ava, alone for 3 years since his wife's passing. Every morning, he packed her lunch, braided her hair the way she liked, and told her the same line his late wife once told him. "Storms don't last, sweetheart, but strong hearts do." That night, he was on his way home from the night shift at a delivery job, tired, soaked, but something in the corner of his eye stopped him. A mother huddled under the streetlight, crying like the world had ended. He hesitated for a second. People were watching. Some were whispering, but none were helping. Then he heard the baby's faint cry. He didn't think twice. He walked over. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Her head lifted slowly. Her eyes, red, tired and full of fear, met his. I don't know where to go," she whispered. The rain beat harder. Elijah looked at the baby, then at Grace. Something inside him cracked. He remembered nights holding Ava when she had fevers, praying she'd make it till morning. He remembered wishing someone, anyone, had helped him back when he was the one crying in hospital hallways. "Come on," he said gently. "You can't stay out here." She shook her head. "I don't want trouble. I just need to rest. Somewhere." He pointed toward a small diner across the street. "Then let's rest there." For a second she hesitated. "Because when you've been hurt—" "Enough! Kindness feels dangerous." But his voice carried no judgment, only quiet conviction. So she nodded. The diner was half empty, smelling of coffee and pancakes. The waitress gave them a puzzled look but said nothing when Elijah ordered 2 soups and hot tea. Grace tried to speak but couldn't stop crying. Her baby had fallen asleep. On her chest, tiny fingers curled around the edge of her collar. Elijah didn't push her. He just sat across from her, dripping rain onto the floor, waiting. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't be here." He shook his head. "You needed a place to be dry." "That's reason enough." She looked at him then, really looked. A stranger, exhausted, wearing a worn jacket with delivery patches and tired eyes that somehow still carried light. "You don't even know me," she said. He smiled softly. "You don't need to know someone to care." Over tea, words slowly found their way between them. Grace told him everything. The accident, the eviction, the loneliness. Every sentence trembled. Elijah listened, his hands folded, his heart breaking silently. When she finished, she wiped her eyes. "I was supposed to start over. I was supposed to be strong for her. She glanced at her baby. "But I don't know how anymore." Elijah reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled photo. His daughter Ava, smiling with 2 missing teeth. "You will," he said. "I thought I couldn't either, but I learned something." She looked up. He leaned forward. "You don't have to start strong. You just have to start." Her lips trembled, the first hint of a smile breaking through. Elijah offered to walk her to a shelter, but when they arrived, it was full. So he made a decision that most people wouldn't. He brought her home. Ava woke up sleepy-eyed when they entered. "Daddy, who's that?" she asked. Elijah smiled. "This is Grace, and this little one is Lily. They needed somewhere safe tonight." Ava looked at the baby, then at Grace, and without hesitation she ran to her room and returned with her favorite blanket. "It's warm," she said, "for the baby." Grace's tears fell again, but this time they weren't from pain. That night, for the first time in months, Grace slept without fear. Days turned into weeks. Grace found temporary work at a clinic nearby. Thanks to Elijah's help, he'd watch the baby when her shifts ran long. They cooked dinners together, shared laughter, shared stories of loss and healing. One night, as they washed dishes side by side, she asked softly, "Why did you stop that night?" He paused. "Because I saw my wife in you. The night she passed, no one stopped for me either. And I swore, if I ever saw someone standing in the rain like that, I wouldn't walk away." Grace placed her hand over his. "You didn't just stop the rain, Elijah. You stopped my fall." Months later, Grace saved her first paycheck and handed it to him. "For rent," she said. He smiled. "Keep it. Use it to start again." "I already did," she whispered. "The night you found me." Word spread in their small town about the man who took in a crying nurse and her baby. People who had once ignored strangers began to look at others differently, because kindness spreads faster than gossip when someone dares to begin it. A year later, the same streetlight flickered in the rain. Only this time, it wasn't loneliness sitting beneath it. It was Grace holding Lily and waiting for Elijah, who was walking home with Ava. They were a family now, not born of blood, but of mercy. As the rain began again, Elijah smiled and said, "Storms don't last." Grace looked up, eyes full of peace. "No," she said softly, "but hearts like yours do. Sometimes the people who seem lost in the rain aren't asking for rescue. They're praying for a reason to keep going, and sometimes that reason arrives as a stranger who simply stops." If this story touched your heart, share it. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and remember, the smallest act of kindness can rewrite someone's entire story. Subscribe for more stories that remind us that hope, once shared, never runs dry.